Hello everyone, my name is Irina Musi. I'm Ukrainian journalist and investigator, and I'm truly happy to be here and to have this conversation with you. Today we are covering a very complex topic, and this lecture organized by Ukrainian International Strategy Center, a think tank focused on international analysis, monitoring information warfare, and developing strategic partnership to support Ukraine. Okay, let's get started. Today our topic is inside Russian influence campaigns targeting European youth. And we are going to discuss how Russia influences young people through social media, also which specific strategies Russia uses to radicalize and polarize them, and why today young people is one of the most vulnerable target group to this information operation. Okay, let's start with some context. As you can see, statistics show that social media today is the main source of information for young people. So 65% of young people aged 15-24 actually consider social media to be the main source of political news. Instagram, 47%, and TikTok, 39%. Also, 76% of respondents say they have encountered disinformation the last week, and even more, 61% of young people are confident they can spot a fake. But research shows that with the rise of AI-generated content in 2025, identifying the truth has become significantly more difficult. Also, I would like to highlight that teenagers aged 15, 17 are the most challenging category of users today because they spend around 5 hours a day online. And 15% of young people aged 18-24 use AI chatbots to get news weekly. So, but since so many people get their news from social media, it's important also to say about influencers. And actually not just influencers, bloggers, but today we can call them as newfluencers. So young people trust newfluencers the most. 74% get their news from bloggers. So newfluencers, they are bloggers who share some news and not just some facts, but opinion about some events which happened, about some facts, and etc., etc. And how does it work, and why does it work? First of all, because of the friend effect. So we all follow bloggers, influencers, because we can be on the same page, we can share the same values, and we also can be just may like their lifestyle, and it is okay. But despite the fact that we never see maybe each other in real, we still feel that we have something common, and in this case, there is this friend effect. Secondly, opinion over fact. As I mentioned before, newfluencers don't just share some facts, they give some opinion. So what matters isn't what happened, but how the blogger reacts some event, some situation. And then algorithmic amplification. If a young person trusts one blogger with a particular political opinion, and then algorithm will feed them a dozen similar ones. And that's why it is danger for young people. And on this slide, you can see two newfluencers in European Union. Alina Lip, she is from Germany, and Adrian Bouquet, he is from France. And they spread Russian propaganda very well in their countries. And as you can see, they have their own Telegram channels and lots followers. And Alina Lip actually spreads pro-Russian rhetoric about Ukraine, and what is the most dangerous, that Alina Lip claims to be an independent journalist. And that's why young people, not just young people, but today we are talking about youth, can trust such kind of influencers, because they are looking for some alternative point of view. They don't trust traditional media, and and they can consider Alina Lip as an independent journalist. In 2025, Alina Lip was sanctioned by European Union. And Jean Bouquet from France, he is a former soldier, and today he is big expert for Russian media. He spread fakes about atrocities in Bucha in 2022. So he just told a lot of stories about videos that it wasn't true, so that Russia didn't commit any war crimes there. But the fact is that over 1,800 civilians were killed by Russians in the Bucha district only in 1 month. And Jean Bouquet also was sanctioned by EU in 2026. So we consider that today social media is the main source for information for young people, and that young people trust influencers the most. But also, when we are talking about this topic, I would like to pay attention to technical methods which Russia uses to spread disinformation. First of all, algorithmic exploitation. So using bots to manipulate the For You page, forcing people to see some radical content they didn't ask for. And for example, if a teenager watches one video about high prices in Europe and cannot afford to rent, the algorithm will soon suggest them another one saying, your money is going to weapons for Ukraine, not to you. That's why you cannot afford to rent, which is obviously it's not true. Second method, Doppelgänger operation. There is a whole ecosystem and very successful disinformation campaign. The creation of perfect clones of mainstream media like Le Monde, Der Spiegel, The Guardian, to host fabricated news, which is then amplified by bot networks and spread, of course, everywhere on social media. And the big threat in 2026 are deepfakes and LLM grooming. What does it mean? So using AI to generate realistic video, audio of European leaders or on-the-ground reports to blur the line between fact and fiction. For example, Operation Overload. Also effectively flooding the digital ecosystem. So these AI chatbots with some knowledge, with some, of course, fake news that damages long-term public trust. And about AI, I will explain how Russia weaponized AI in detail. Because we all today using AI for different reasons. Someone just uses AI instead of Google. Someone can use to generate some photo, presentation. Someone just want to talk with someone and just decided to talk with AI model. And but that's why AI today is dangerous, because it's not only about advantages using AI, it's also about disadvantages. So, and here you can see a screenshot of the Institute for Strategic Dialogue 2025. And so journalists, when investigated this topic, just found out that 18% of AI-generated responses about war in Ukraine include links to Russian websites. And a large portion of these outlets are prohibited under European Union sanctions because of the disinformation. And as you can see, according to the study, journalists asked important topic, asked important questions. AI bots, ChatGPT, Grok, DeepSeek, Gemini, so about recruitment to Ukrainian army, NATO perception, peace talks, war crimes, and refugees. So there is a number of Russian state sources, and here you can see that ChatGPT used the most Russian websites, for example, 7 times when journalists asked about recruitment to Ukrainian army. Of course, today mobilization in Ukraine, recruitment to Ukrainian army is quite difficult. It's quite complicated for Ukrainians as well. And we know that there are a lot of problems. And unfortunately, this vulnerability Russia uses, and that's a big threat today. So also 6 times ChatGPT used Russian websites about NATO perception, 3 times about peace talks, 4 times about war crimes, and 1 about refugees. So Grok used Kremlin-run website as well a lot. So 6 about recruitment to Ukrainian army, 4 about NATO perception, and 4 about peace talks. DeepSeek less, but also just I would like to highlight that 4 times DeepSeek used Russian websites about peace talks, and Gemini used less, actually, only once about recruitment to Ukrainian army, once about peace talks, 2 about war crimes, and 1 about refugees. So ChatGPT is more likely to repeat Russian sources. And this is the result of LLM grooming. So by flooding the internet with fake news, Russia ensures that AI models learn these lies as common language, and eventually the AI just stops checking the source and starts presenting propaganda as a simple fact. The weaponization of information isn't limited to chatbots, and it's also today very successful works with words of video games. So here I would like to point out how works the gamification of propaganda. And it's a big threat as well today, because in 2025, 2026, this area become a priority for the Kremlin, and as it allows to reach teenagers who don't watch some journalists' videos on YouTube or just television, and who don't read news. How it works practically? First of all, the creation of propaganda worlds like Minecraft. So player can build a Russian Mariupol or hold virtual parades for Victory Day using that symbols and Russian flags. So Ukrainian city Mariupol was occupied by Russia in 2022, since Russian full-scale invasion started. And we even don't know a real number of people who were killed by Russia. And unfortunately, young people who are playing these video games and who don't know the context, don't know about the war in Ukraine pretty well, they just can realize that maybe Mariupol is a Russian city and play this game and build a Russian Mariupol. Secondly, military simulators and moods, so World of Tanks, for example. Scenarios are created where the player must fight on the side of the Russia against so-called terrorists. In this case, means terrorists that Ukrainian army or NATO. And young people still maybe at first don't realize why it is danger and can play this game and in some way like humanized maybe to understand, don't consider for example Russia as aggressor, and that's why it's a big threat. Also communication platforms, Discord and Steam. Closed servers set up for gamers where they initially discuss games, also introduce some political memes and fake news as well, some far-right ideas. And because of the lack of strict moderation, there is easy to spread radical calls to action there and Russian propaganda. And taking all these risks into account, in 2026, the European Commission, using its instrument Digital Services Act, even launched an investigation into systemic risk within large gaming ecosystems because they use for foreign information interference. And on the next slide, I would like to pay your attention how keen Russian narratives targeting young people in Europe. So today, the most popular and works successfully narrative about lost future, economic pessimism, message: housing is unaffordable, prices are rising because the EU has imposed sanctions on Russia, or is spending too much on migrants in European countries. Second one, Ukrainian fatigue message: Ukraine is going to lose anyway, so why we spend a lot of money helping Ukraine, and why spend your taxes on this war? And also one of these narratives: you are next in line for the front. This is about existential fear, a narrative targeting young men of conscription age in NATO countries, and on Telegram and other social media can be shared fake documents about mobilization plans for students, for example, in Poland or the Baltic states or in Germany. And also, all these fake documents can be supplemented by videos of harsh mobilization in Ukraine to cause panic. And also narrative about crisis of identity and morality, and this kind of anti-migrant sentiment. So message: Western values mean chaos, and for example, the copy-cope network, which there was also a big Russian disinformation campaign on social media. So the copy-cope network uses AI to generate thousands of comments under posts about LGBT or migration, and trying to create the illusion that the majority of young people are against LGBT, against migrants, and etc., etc. And all this action by Russia, by Russian propaganda, definitely are aimed at polarizing European youth. And impact on the far left and far right camps can be the same, because first of all, Russia tries to use common vulnerabilities, for example, distrust of the government, anti-establishment sentiment, and a propensity for conspiracy theories. Secondly, the Kremlin uses the same events but wraps it in different emotional packaging. So for the right, through fear, loss of identity, the dominance of migrants, and for the left, through outrage, social injustice, American imperialism. And the aim of this mechanism is not to impose the truth, but to destroy the center. Social media algorithms pick up on these radical messages and trap young people in information bubbles, where the common ground for both camps, far left and far right, becomes total distrust of their own governments and democratic institutions. And effective polarization is one of the greatest risks today. Russia is not trying to make young people love Putin. Its aim is to ensure that the left and the right hate their own government more than the aggressor, Russia. And on this slide, you may see how this Russian narrative can affect far left and far right in details. So the overlap between the radical left and right. First of all, geopolitics, NATO, subject NATO. So the narrative of the far left, an instrument of American imperialism, the narrative of the far right, a threat to national sovereignty. And Russian goal is here the erosion transatlantic unity. Second subject, support for Ukraine. The narrative of the far left. Ukraine is Washington's proxy, exploiting the conflict in Gaza to accuse the European Union. Why are you helping Ukraine but not Palestine? And the narrative of the far right. Sanctions are destroying our economy. Russian goal is here the ending of military aid to Ukraine, the failure to view Ukrainians as victims because they are white Europeans. And next one, liberal democracy, European values. So the narrative of the far left, the neoliberal dictatorship of the elite, and the narrative of the far right, an authoritarian threat to traditional values. And Russian goal here is to delegitimize European Union institutions. And one of the last economy, globalization, narrative of the far left, exploitation of the working class, narrative of the far right, the globalist elites conspiracy against the nation, and the Russian goal here, promotion protectionism and isolationism. Maybe you heard about this. What does it mean, this question? What about this? But I wanted to consider this in detail. So the impact on radical left-wing sentiment is illustrated by the use of the war in Gaza. So in 2024-2025, Russian clone websites spread a fake narrative that European aid to Ukraine causes famine in Gaza. And so AI bots flooded the social media of European politicians with "What about this?" Whenever Ukraine was mentioned, bot asked, "What about the children of Gaza?" By 2025, so 30-40% of comments under Ukraine-related news focused on Gaza or double standards. And Russia also tries to change how Russia can look in young people's eyes and try to control of anti-colonial discourse. So actively uses the terminology of the global south in 2025, and propaganda portrays Russia as the leader of the anti-colonial movement, fighting against the US and the European Union. Which is funny because we know that Russia is an empire as well, and Russia was empire before and has imperial thinking. So Ukraine was colonized by Russia and other countries, but unfortunately young people in European Union, if they don't know the context, if they have lack of knowledge about that, they can trust and consider Russia as the leader of the anti-colonial movement. And also, I would like to pay your attention about with recruitment through activism. Europol 2025 reports that Russia spies are using Gaza solidarity groups on Telegram to radicalize young people. And Russia is secretly funding protests to spread anti-Ukraine and anti-NATO messages within the movement. And the influence on radical right-wing sentiments among young people is quite different. because there are from economic nationalism to pop fascism. And I would like to start from some statistics. In the 2024-2025 elections in Germany, 16% of voters aged 16-24 voted for the AfD, far-right party, and this made it the popular party among young people in Germany, which is really dangerous. So this radical right-wing sentiments is growing. And also, Eurobarometer showed that the cost of living is the main concern for 61% of young Europeans, and making them the ideal target for the economic pessimism narrative. And next one, Little Dark Age. I was shocked when I heard about that, and I decided to investigate it more. So what does it mean, Little Dark Age? A montage of dictators, Hitler, Mussolini, or parades from the past set to dynamic funk-style music. And here, the dictator is presented not as war criminal, but a strong leader, or even static figure, like Sigma male, and appealing to teenagers who are unaware of the context. So, and unfortunately, it's a big risk today as well, because young people don't realize how it is dangerous just to, for example, like, comment such videos, and don't realize that these leaders, Hitler, Mussolini, they were dictators, and it was really horrible time. And if young people, if we don't know history unfortunately repeats itself. And last one, culture preservation, the great replacement. So far-right groups convince young people that their identity is under threat by migration, and framing xenophobia as a real act of self-defense for the nation's future. And as I mentioned today during this lecture, that disinformation, Russian propaganda is not just one random post on social media, on just one article, or even bot networks. It's a whole ecosystem of disinformation and how it works. The information laundering scheme. First of all, a fake story appears on an anonymous, for example, Telegram channel, yeah. Then visualization. So AI creates a short video for TikTok based on these fake news items. Amplification. What networks, like, for example, this disinformation campaign Doppelgänger, on social media start reposting this video and also tag popular bloggers and journalists. And last one, legitimization. So the fake news reaches radical politicians who present it as an alternative point of view. And unfortunately, even if journalists, experts debunk a lot of fakes, disinformation campaign day by day, they still exist, and there are a lot of new disinformation campaign. So it's actually unbelievable how Russia try to convince whole world, people in Europe, young people, that everything that Russia talks about something that is true, and it is unbelievable that people still believe Russia, despite the fact that there are a lot of information on the internet, and people can find this information, can be aware of that it's not true, that's Russian propaganda. So I hope that this information was useful for you. And here I also, you can see just some fact-checking websites and information verification resources. And was it AI, how to check information photo, if this photo generated by AI or not. Also deepfake quizzes and a lot of other instruments, and Doppelgänger, for example, Ukrainian project dedicated to debunking disinformation and propaganda, European Union Disinfo, project of European External Action Service, Wayback Machine, so digital instrument of over 385 billion web pages, and etc., etc. So thank you for being here today. And I think that we all have to practice digital information literacy. We all have to develop our critical thinking. Don't trust everything that we see on the internet, and just and continue to fight for the truth, continue to investigate, and thank you all of you. It was really nice of you to be here, and to I wish you the good day, and I wish you to be careful and stay safe and take care.